Okay, so let us begin. First of all, I want to welcome you all to our webinar. We're going to talk today about understanding and implementing the SaaSBOMs for enhanced resilience. And really in this webinar, we're going to focus on the newest release of our SaaSBOM and understand and explain how it's relating to what you're familiar like SBOMs from that perspective, but also taking it more into building an actual pipeline build material, understanding more than just the libraries, but beyond the libraries, we'll be able to understand the connected SaaS elements, APIs, and as we're expanding the inventory and visibility, have a complete view or complete visibility into everything that's happening. I recommend you to ask questions during the sessions. I'll spend time to answer those questions as we're moving along. And I would like to start with a quick agenda. So what we have today is we actually going to start with the story that everybody's talking about from last week. And we're going to deconstruct the story in a simple way. And then I'll provide some key takeaways, lesson learned, and a few recommendations and practical guidance that you can take for today. Following that, we'll introduce our newest SaaSBOM and also explain how that is relating to the Sisense breach. And finally, I'm going to demonstrate all the different practical best practices that I'm going to share, including the SaaSBOM. I want to start from revisiting a little bit about our mission, and then I'll explain how this is coming to kind of a whole vision and what we are in Aux trying to do. And our vision is really to eliminate manual AppSec. We see manual AppSec as creating considerable disruption in the software development lifecycle, and it dramatically slows down the pace of innovation and application security. Also, it makes hiring and retaining skilled personnel difficult. The reliance on that manual AppSec, on those different tasks that takes a lot of time, and the process gets prolonged, then only at the end of the process we get some result, leaves the organization really in kind of a friction between different teams. And the high turnover or the inability to find skilled personnel really requires organization to shift their, not shift left necessarily, but shift their understanding on how to solve that kind of AppSec problem. And really the goal here is to eliminate the dependency on manual AppSec practices that really hinders the speed, scalability, and innovation. So from this point, I would like to start from story. So the story really started on April 11th, where CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, issued an urgency advisory for the Sisense customers. They needed to reset their credential following the security breach. Now, really, the incident underscored the susceptibility of companies to software supply chain attack, where the compromised software, in this case the Git, was exploited in order to allow attackers to infiltrate other areas in the company, in this case the S3, and really exfiltrate the data, and in other cases potentially causing widespread other widespread consequences. If we break it down, we start from really the alert that CISA created, and it really urges customer to reset credentials and secret. If you look at the alert, they note two aspects. So the first aspect is what we talked about, reset the credentials and secret that are potentially exposed. But the second aspect is investigate any kind of suspicious activity involving credentials potentially exposed. So we have those two elements, and if I would break it even more as what we can see, so if we deconstruct further how the attackers worked in that sense, and I'm going to simplify it a little bit, but this is kind of the key aspects. First of all, what the attackers were able to do is to gain access to Sisen's self-managed GitLab. We don't have all the details yet, and it wasn't published so far, but in this case, they had probably some sort of a username, password, access token, or a way to access their self-managed GitLab. Also, it might be from an internal network. It might be from a different way of connecting from, let's say, a bridge system. But eventually, once they got that access into the GitLab, they found a hard-coded token for the Amazon S3 bucket that's in the cloud. The token was an active token. Following that, they were able to use that into accessing the S3 and exfiltrating the terabytes of data that the company had that included access token, passwords, SSL certificate, and really we don't know the full scope of it, but the issue that Sisen sent to their customers is really an in-depth rotation and changes of certificates, passwords, tokens, and so on. Really, from this point, when we're looking at what a company needs to do, so Sisense issues that, and if you are a Sisense customers, first of all, if you know that you are a Sisense customers, then this is the activity or the actions that you need to take. But if you're not sure on the exact location of where Sisense is connected in the code, let me tell you, this is where SaaSBOMs really comes in handy, because you have the ability, and I'll show it later on in the demo, to look into your entire organization and know exactly where different SaaS applications are connected. And you can find out all those secrets just from a single screen. So instead of going through development and trying to understand where is it connected, maybe it's connected in other places that are not documented well. So you have that ability, and then you can, from the platform, really open tickets and really start rotating all the secrets, reducing your actual exposure. Let's move to the 3 key takeaways and recommendations that we have. And we'll really divide it into those 3 elements that I spoke about. The first thing, attacker gained access to sites and self-managed GitLab. And this was the attack vector. We're not sure how it was managed, maybe through a phishing campaign, maybe through an insider threat or different other means. But in this case, first of all, I would look at Git posture and really access control. So the ability to enable MFA and provide strict access control and permissions really allows you to really narrow down the entire attack surface and really narrow down your exposure, because it's not a matter of vulnerability in this case. It's really a matter of exposure. Second part is what we see with prospects and customers is that there's a lot of admins or leftovers in Git. So going through that and making sure that the relevant people are admins, and also monitoring the usage and the ability to understand if someone is connected and it shouldn't be connected to Git. And also, if we take it a step further, we want to look and detect and prevent, of course, repo forking, which means we don't want admins or people to fork that repo or copy the code somewhere else. So we want to keep the control in that sense. And here, what we are recommending to do is really disable that repo forking and only enable that when it's really needed. The second recommendation, which really ties into the hard-coded secret that was used, found in code, and was used to access the Amazon S3 bucket. We want to know if we have hard-coded active secrets. If a secret is not active, then it's more of a hygiene aspect. If a secret is active and it's hard-coded in code, then it's a problem. First of all, we also have in Git history and echoed in pipeline. We want to understand that it's not just, okay, we removed it from code, but if we didn't rotate it or revoked it and it's still echoed, then attackers might be able to see that and use that. So if we do know that we have an active secret, it was in code, we need to look for history, we need to look at the pipeline and just understand that it's not echoed even though it was removed from code. The second part is to monitor and enforce the usage of secret management. One of the quick wins you can have with Aux in this case is really once you connect Aux to your environment, we immediately look for secrets as one of the elements of coverage that we're providing. And we can tell you which secrets are active, which are inactive. And also we show you generic secrets that you can understand. If you have hundreds of those issues, then the problem is not the actual secret. The problem is the usage of secret management in your development environment, which is kind of a much broader risk. And from a security perspective, the education, awareness part, and the enforcement of the usage is really important. And of course, the final part is to prevent hard-coded active secrets by integrating, in this case, you can integrate Aux into your pipeline. If we detect an active secret, we can block the merge, we can block the build. So you won't have that as part of your production code. You still need to understand that it might stay in code. So there's two different activities as we mentioned. The third part here is really around the access to the S3 bucket. So from this perspective, what we're taking here is to understand, okay, a SaaS solution that we're using or a service that we're using has been breached. We understand from Sisense that in this case, we need to rotate secrets. We need to revoke them. We need to replace them. We need to replace the certificates. So I need, as a security responsible for security of my organization, to locate, first of all, if we are using Sisense. If we are using Sisense, where are we using? When was it integrated? And so on. So first of all, I can enhance my own security response and risk management to different types of incidents that happen outside of my company, but are connected to me. It helps me also to stay compliant with different type of regulatory requirements and also understand shadow SaaS. Similar to shadow IT or shadow applications that are being used, shadow SaaS is really where we have different types of SaaS services integrated or connected to our code, which we not necessarily know about. This can create violation in compliance and in regulation that usually only after an audit we'll see that and we'll have to quickly fix that or do something about it. And if it's a service that's being used, it might take some time. So we are exposed to fines and even in the worst cases, losing our own certification or compliance. The last part is when we're looking at software supply chain, we want to have and provide transparency. And to achieve that level of transparency, as a security practitioner, also from a developer perspective, I need to understand all the services that are connected to my code. As we wrap up the incident breakdown and really our recommendation and practical use cases, and I'm going to share in the demo exactly how you achieve that with Aux. I want to first tackle SaaSBOM and provide you with an introduction to what we've released, what is SaaSBOM, why is it so important, and what do I do with it? So first of all, really, the SaaSBOM is the extension, I would say, if you look at the traditional SBOM aspect and the principle, what happens is that even with SBOM, it's constantly changing and it's dynamic. And we need to extend our reach because it's not just open source packages and libraries that we have in code, but the entire environment that we have, from the development environment to other SaaS applications that are connected, constantly change. And once there is an alert, once there is a breach, it takes a lot of time to find out where are all those types of services connected. Am I exposed? Do I need to do something about it? What kind of mitigation do I need to do? So it really is providing you a comprehensive inventory that lists and document all the different SaaS components that interact with your software development, with your application, with your environment. And what you can gain from it is, first of all, to understand the SaaS, the vendor, the integration points, or where is it found, and have a quick evidence to understand, okay, this is the scope of what I need to do. So instead of looking that through development and just going through that and spending hours, sometimes even days finding it out, you can have that screen that I'll show you and discover that in a matter of a few seconds. After a few minutes, you have an action. So why do I want SaaSBOM? First of all, it's an essential part of every application security strategy. So it's no longer just a nice to have. And similar to what we've seen that happened with SaaSBOM and all the extensions and upgrades that SaaSBOM received, SaaSBOM, as we see today, is also a critical and essential part of the security strategy. First of all, what it provides you with visibility and clarity, and it will help you to understand all the different SaaS products and how they are connected to your system. The second part is it will help you with your security and risk management. So when an incident happens and you hear about an incident, you can quickly go search and see the exposure level that you have. So you might not have any kind of exposure level, but if you do have, you want to quickly assess that and come up with a plan to mitigate it as fast as possible. From a compliancy perspective, it will assist you to stay compliant, as we explained before, and it will also help you to understand what level of compliancy the other, I would say, the other vendors that you are connected with have. And it really is an important, I would say, task for every compliance team or every, I would say, every business in that sense, to understand exactly where they are, what compliance, what frameworks, what certificates they have, and how they keep maintaining that. So if they lose a certificate, they lose business. It's direct correlation. From a cost management perspective, it really aids in the tracking of different types of usage and subscription. So you can see, and you work with finance, for example, and you can see all of the SaaS services, what you're connected to. Maybe you're discovering that you are using a SaaS service or an application that's no longer running. But because you are paying for that service, you're still, having that budget taken from you, and you can quickly revert that and free a budget for other aspects. For example, Ox. The last thing is really from a disaster recovery and business continuity. So as you hear about breaches like Sisense, you want to quickly and immediately understand your exposure. You want to understand what you need to do, how much work it will take. Maybe you can mitigate it beforehand. Maybe you can stop using that service for a while. Maybe you can't, and you need to quickly overturn that and release a new version, for example. So it really helps you with that disaster recovery, helps you keep the business running, and most of all, keep the trust and the transparency with your own customers. So it really is important, and eventually customers' trust leads to more business. So let's see the strategic advantage. So from a vendor approval, then you can streamline the process of vendor approval. When you want to integrate a new vendor, you're seeing development or creating a new application. That application is connecting to a new SaaS service. You didn't know about that service, but now you do. And since you do, before the application is in production and is deployed, and only know after the fact or through an audit, you have the ability to reclaim that kind of control. Second is rogue application and really shadow SaaS, where you're proactively discovering that you understand, and you can start validating other SaaS services, or you can work with development and tell, listen, that SaaS service is not going to work for us because of compliance issues, because of a breach or anything like that. From a data governance, so you can enhance those data governance practices, enhance the vendor relationship. So you provide insights into data exchanges with active vendors, and you're able also to understand that. And if you need so, cut it down. And eventually, transparency in data handling. And you can achieve it in a matter of minutes. You don't have to spend days or weeks just collecting data from multiple resources. You can just connect aux. And what we are going to do right now is dive in and look into SaaSBOM in action, and also how do you use those practical recommendations that I've provided for you in the earlier part of this session. So without further ado, I would move to our dashboard. The screen that you're seeing right now, and you can see that the new feature release, and you can see the purple banner for every release, and I'll close it right now. The first thing you're seeing is our dashboard. And as you connect to aux, the first thing you'll be able to do is to see the entire pipeline build material. So the middle part here is the visibility aspect that we're providing. The way that we are doing that is through connectors. So you're using, if you're using, for example, GitLab, similar to Sisense, the identity provider token, we also have the ability with the GitHub app and Bitbucket and other source control. Immediately when you connect your source control, we're deploying our own aux native scanners, and we're starting to provide you with code security and secret scanning, PII scanning with open source security, SCA, SBOM, infrastructure as code. When you connect your CI/CD, would provide you with this posture element and also the ability to, for example, show you if you have secrets echoed in pipeline. With the registry, ability to scan containers and show you all the different artifacts that you have. And the last thing is really from a cloud deployment, you can either connect a commercial tool or even connect your aux cloud scanner and provide that scanning. And once you have that connected, you can see that we are mapping everything. And the second part that we're doing, and this is kind of the top left here, is the issue prioritization. So really looking at all the original alert, and usually you have a lot of those. The aggregation and deduplication, that's easy, everybody does it. Really the special part is how we're doing our prioritization. And if you want to learn more about it and how we enrich the data and consolidate and really get customers to reduce the noise and the alerts with more, I would say more than 97%. This is real customer data. So more than 97%. If you want to see that, you can start free. You can just log into Aux Security and start your own account, connect your repositories, and start working. What I want to focus right now is on those three aspects. I'll start with the SaaSBOM because this is our new feature and this is what we're introducing. So here you can see that we have what we call the BOM screen. So as part of PBOM, we have the ability to show SBOM, API BOM, and our newest release is our SaaSBOM. This is a simple demonstration environment. In some environments, you'll see much more connected, but we want to keep it simple so you can see the different SaaS services. You can see the different categories, and we'll be creating kind of a dashboard overview. So you'll be able to see kind of a executive reporting around that. The app name, so where is it connected? And also to provide, from the application, the ability to go directly to the application. And you can see that the tags in every application will also indicate the actual SaaS services, and more than just the SaaS services, but you can see all the different SaaS services. So even from the application page, you can start filtering on those tags. Going back to the SaaSBOM, you can see the detection source. So we have different types of evidence. And we're showing you all the different types of sources and where it is connected. So in this case, if you're using Sisense, and we have Sisense here, if you're using Sisense, we're able to show you the applications, and beyond application, the exact locations and files. You can see here we have the exact files and the places where Sisense is connected. You can see it also in the code. So from this point, you are able to understand all the locations, not just for specific applications, but all the locations in code where, in this case, it needs to be handled. It can be for any type of SaaS application, for any type of application, of course. And this is really the ability. And if you want, you can filter with a SaaS category, with a SaaS name. So you can create, this list will probably be much larger in your own organization. But as you can filter, you can basically create a filter for a specific, if let's say Sisense, I just click the filter. I see all the evidence, all the apps, everything that Sisense is connected, and I can start monitoring that and start either exporting or opening tickets for that. If we roll back, I would say a little bit. So as we're looking at the SaaSBOM in this case and the detection, it also helped me to understand which applications, and as we talked about Shadow SaaS, which applications are connected. So I can filter with a specific application. I can do it from the SaaSBOM screen for filtering for a specific application and really see, not from a SaaS perspective, but from an application perspective. What are the different SaaS services that are connected to a specific application? This really gives me a good overlook on my critical assets, because not all applications, all repos have the same priority. Some have more priority or higher priority in this case. What it really results in, I want to start not by a service, but by an application. So I either can do it from the SaaSBOM screen, or I can use the application page. And this is what we're doing. We're mapping all of your applications automatically. And when we see SaaS services in your code, we automatically tag them. So you'll see it in the SaaSBOM page. You also see it here in the application page, and you can see that we are assigning a business priority score per application. So we understand automatically how your development works. When was the last code commit? We can differentiate between applications that are deployed, as you can see here, or other applications that are just code or code that was built, but it's not deployed yet. And we can understand also the criticality. So if we need to rotate or revoke secret and we need to start handling something, of course, I suggest that we start handling those applications or those products that are deployed that we are actually using and rotate from there. So it's not enough just to rotate everything, revoke everything. Where do I start, and what are the critical risks, and what is we need to do it, but it's not important right now. If you look closely, and we talked about Git posture. So the initial reach with Sisense started from a self-hosted GitLab. What you can do when you connect Aux is you can look at Git posture elements. And first of all, from a Git posture elements, you can see, for example, that we have multiple admins for a repo. I want to reduce it, and I can do it directly from the platform. So as fixing the issue, we can assign read, write elements. We can remove users. So let's say you want to create a better posture for your Git, and you don't really want to go repo by repo, and you want to start, okay, who's that user? Where do I need to remove it? And so on and so forth. I can just see the areas that require my attention. And really from that platform, in this case, in GitHub, but you can do it in other tools as well. Really from this perspective, look at the amount or the number of admins, reduce it, or keep a few users read-only, which won't solve that problem that Sisense had, but it really solves a lot of other problems of software supply chain security and code changes. Furthermore, you can see that 2FA is not enforced, and this is probably one of the issues that happened with Sisense, as the attacker was able to infiltrate and get access to the repo. So we don't know the details and we're not sure about it, but what we can do from this perspective is really to enable two-factor authentication, making sure that even if a password or a token is stolen, then it's harder for an attacker to actually use it into breaching our code. You can see different types of other posture areas. Let's say, for example, outside collaborators. If we can see that we have an outside collaborator on a private repo, which is a fork of the organization, we talked about repo forking as well, then we can understand that we might have a code leak. If I don't know about this incident, we might have a code leak. If I do know about it, I want to make sure that the repo that was forked is really private and the access is from an outside collaborator that is approved and it still is that person. Now, this is a measurement of risk, of course, as those outside collaborators can also have their credentials stolen. So I want to understand where I'm at from exposure and risk. From a pipeline, I would say, from a CI/CD posture perspective, we can see that there are cases that secrets are being echoed in pipeline. So it really is important, and we'll need to fix that. So you have a link, of course, here to fix that. We provide recommendations and guidance for every issue. So the first part of the attack, I would say that the first vector is infiltrating or gaining access to your code. This is how you minimize the risk, how you mitigate as much as possible. And from here on, it's just being able to monitor and see if there are any kind of changes. We talked about that. We talked about SaaSBOM, and I really want to talk about the last part, which are secrets in code and secrets that are hard coded. So from this perspective, if I go back here, we also have the ability to use Oscar, which is a framework, which is a MITRE-like framework, same tactics and techniques for software supply chain security, similar to what MITRE did for the cloud and network and mobile. The idea really here is that you can map all of the issues into how attackers look at them, the attacker point of view. And what we're looking for here is really, let's say, compromised tokens. I want to know if there is an ability to compromise a token. This doesn't mean that you have compromised token. It just means that an attacker can compromise a token because that specific token, if I'm going to look at it, is an active token. So if you have that, and the first one that you can see here is an AWS secret key that was found in a public repository, which is really a critical issue. And if that key is inactive and we can tell you if it's active or not, then this is something that you need to immediately revoke. Of course, you need to handle that from a operation perspective and make sure that the application or the product is still working. So you can't just go on and just revoke it, but definitely revoke after you release a new version with a new secret that is not in code. We're using secret management, so kind of the right way to do it. So you can see it. You can see different types of secrets, and what you're also able to see is the evidence that we're providing. So you'll see the commit, you'll see the type of secret, you'll see where it is. For example, let's do another AWS secret key. So you can see also compliance elements, the actual app and the flow. So you see the app is deployed, so you understand that. We also provide with a graphical representation of the entire issue. And stay tuned because we're shortly, in a few weeks, going to release something really, really cool about it. And from this perspective, what you can see is that when we do see, and this is the opposite example. So we have an hard-coded secret and the secret is active, and an attacker, if using that secret, has the ability to exfiltrate data. But what about the other way around? When we do have a secret, but the secret is inactive. So in this case, we see that there is a secret in code. We can show the commit and where it is, but it's really more of an hygiene issue because we are able to validate that secret and tell you that that actual secret is inactive. So we'll probably want to remove it from code anyway. So on the two elements here, first of all, we want to understand that you have active secrets, which are those secrets, where they are, who needs to fix it. The other way around is you want to reprioritize the inactive secrets, and you want the system to automatically do so because in this demo, we have about, 20 or more. In a real life environment, we'll have hundreds and sometimes even thousands, depending on development. So we really want to focus our attention on those active, critical ones that we have to focus on right now. Maybe you'll be able to avoid any kind of similar breach, even though someone might got access to your code, they won't be able to move laterally easily in your organization. So those three aspects, and let me summarize and really go back to what we recommended. So from a practical aspects, first of all, from different types of attack vectors, what we can learn from the Sisense breach and the lesson learned is let's have a SaaSBOM that can show us in case of a vendor that we are using is being breached and the implications and the risk that we'll be exposing to and how we can quickly understand and mitigate that. From lesson learned about the actual attack and how it happened, first of all, from a posture perspective, we want to be able to understand the actual Git posture to reduce the number of admins, to have strict access as much as possible, enable MFA, disable repo forking, and enforce other posture areas. And really from the right way, I would say, to handle secrets is, of course, not to put them in code, even though it's easy just to put the secret in code and let it use it. You really need to enforce that kind of development mentality and awareness to the fact that one secret in code can really create a lot of mess for you as a company, but for other companies as well. Let's stop here. If you do have any kind of questions, please write them down either in the chat or in the Q&A. I will look at it right now. So I see there are no questions, which is good and not that good, depending on the audience. But I would like to thank you for listening. I would like to help you take the next step. And the easiest one is really from from Ox. You can just go to our website, ox.security, click on login, and really start free. And you'll able to connect your environment in about 5 minutes, and the scanning will start automatically, and you can start seeing results both from a posture perspective, secret perspective, SaaSBOM perspective, and SBOM, SCA, and a lot of other capabilities that we're bringing. Or if you want, feel free to click book a demo and really book a demo with one of us from Ox, and we'll show you and deep dive and help you get started as much as you need. So thank you very much for attending and for listening, and I'll see you in our next webinar.